Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elisa and today I am going to walk you through an IELTS Speaking Part 3 question. I am going to give you the structure that I like to use. I'm actually going to give you two different structures. One is a little bit easier and the other is a little bit more natural and more conversational. Both of them will get you a very good score. Alright, so we're going to talk about the question, do people like to read novels in your country? Alright, so we're going to start with the easier structure and I'm just going to walk you through my answer first, and then I'm going to go ahead and break it down so that you can do your own answer. You could do your own answer right now. You could just, pause this, grab pen and paper, and write your answer down. Alright, so let's do this. There's like a whole list of these. How often do people read, period? How often do people read on the internet? There's a whole lot of stuff about how often people read, and you can use a similar answer to this for any of those. Alright, so here is my answer. It depends on the person for many reasons. First, people who are very busy don't always have very much time to read novels. Therefore, they don't spend much time reading novels and will often just read books that are work-related or read the newspaper. On the other hand, some people have less on their plate or don't work at all and have much more time to read novels. They may even be part of a book club where they read certain books and discuss them with their friends. Okay, so that is my answer, and let's just talk a little bit and break down that structure. If you have seen any of my videos about part 2, I talk about the opening sentence in all of those, and that is so important. Just what you're going to start saying is so important because students tend to just not talk. It's time for them to talk. The question has been asked and they're just not talking. And you want to just know what you're going to start with. And so I kind of like to have a structure where you kind of start with the same kind of sentence. That way you aren't just sitting there staring at the examiner as they wait for you to start talking on your speaking exam. So in this one, I start with it depends on the person for many reasons. And there are two kind of key things here. The first one is it depends. So it depends allows you to give two separate answers. So you're going to have a group of people that do this, and then you're going to have a group of people that do the opposite. And when we say it depends, it kind of tells the examiner and yourself that you're going to give two different answers. The other thing I say is for many reasons. In another part 3 question, I talk about for many reasons being something that gives you permission to kind of list things, and it's kind of framing it for your own brain, and it's kind of framing it for the examiner. We're going to hear two different answers because we're saying it depends. It depends. Some people are this, some people are that, and we're saying for many reasons, so we're going to list things. So those are the two things we're going to accomplish, and we've said both of those with our opening sentence. In my opinion, it is really important for you to kind of set yourself up at the beginning of your part 3 answer, because what I have seen with students is that for some reason you guys lose your steam. You lose energy when you get to part 3. Maybe you guys are a little bit tired, maybe you're nervous, maybe you're like, got through part 2, but part 3 gets a little squirrely. People start to meander, they start to say things that don't make sense, and so having just like a nice tight structure will hopefully stop you from doing that, kind of keep you focused so that you can have nice, concise answers. Okay, so let's keep going with what I say next. So now we want to give our first reason. When you're dealing with part 3, you want to have 2 or 3 reasons. Like part 1, you want to make sure you're talking enough, and I estimate that to be somewhere around 5 sentences. Not a rule, but just 5 normal size sentences is usually enough words so that you are able to allow the examiner to judge that you have command of the English language. If you just say one sentence, they're not really going to know if you can speak English or not, and you're probably going to get a 5 or lower. depending on that one sentence that you say. So you want to give enough sentences. I really don't recommend you do less than 3, and that's even, unless there are 3 really long sentences, which would be fine. But 3 baby sentences or 3 normal size sentences might not be enough. That's why I say 5. You are safe with 5. You do not need to go in there and count, but just when you're practicing, just be like, am I kind of around that number? Am I saying 4 sentences, 6 sentences? Just about 5 is about right. And I'm big on giving 2 or 3 reasons. 2 is enough. So if you have 2 reasons that you can give, that's enough. If you have a 3rd one, that's awesome. If you don't have a 3rd one, don't worry about it. Don't go, don't ruin a good answer by trying to think of a reason that you just don't have. You can also do 2 reasons and an example. That works too. So it just kind of depends on how much you're going to be talking during those 2 reasons. But 2 or 3 reasons is what you want to do. So now that we've said it depends, we're going to give you 2 answers for many reasons. We're going to list some things. We're going to go ahead and give our first reason. So I'm basically, my 2 different people are people who are busy, people who are not busy. So first, just a nice way to be like, first, they like those sequence words. I don't recommend you say first, second, third, because that can get boring. But first, for your first reason, is a great start. First of all, to begin with, all of these are great ways to kind of just start and give your first reason. So we've got people who are busy. So I say, people who are very busy don't really have much time to read novels. I'm telling you my group of people. This is the group of people. They're busy. They don't have time to read novels. So instead of going, no, some people are busy, I'm saying, first of all, we have people who are very busy and they don't have time to read novels. So I'm giving you more words, more information, more conversational. Then I say therefore. Therefore is a great transition word. If you can get a transition word, therefore, moreover, however, whereas. I'll make a whole video on those words if you guys want me to. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, so you want to, get that in, and this is a good way to do it. So they're busy. They don't read as much. And then I get in a therefore. And the thing about this structure is it's a little bit repetitive. So I get in my therefore. Therefore, they don't read a lot of novels, or they don't read as many novels. I'm just repeating. No, some people are really busy, so they don't read a lot of novels. And then I'm just getting into therefore, and I'm kind of repeating myself, which is what makes this structure a little bit easier, is that it is repetitive. You're often taking what you said at the end of one sentence and then repeating it and saying it at the beginning of another sentence. That's not as conversational. It's not as real life, but it's fine for the IELTS, and it's a good way to kind of keep yourself structured and on task and not wandering around and kind of thinking, what am I going to say? So then I tell you what these people do read. They read things that are work related, or they read the newspaper. Pretty easy to say that. And so there you go. That is my first group. They are busy. They don't read that much. So now I'm going to give you my second reason and my second group of people. And I'm going to start with on the other hand, which is another great transition phrase. So on the other hand, because I already said it depends, anytime you start with an it depends, you're definitely going to be able to get in and on the other hand. Or on the contrary, in contradiction. So any of those, you can slide those in there and you get like little vocabulary points from the examiner. So I've got people that are busy, people that are not busy. And when we talk about busy, there's an idiom that comes up, and it's on your plate. And on your plate, you have a lot on your plate. You have nothing on your plate. And your plate just means how much you have to do, how busy you are. So I could have said, well, you have people that have a lot of things on their plate. And then now I'm saying you have people that have nothing on their plate. So anytime you're talking about busyness, on your plate, on their plate, having a lot on your plate, not having anything on your plate is something that you can say. So I say, on the other hand, some people have less on their plate. Good way to slide that in. They have less on their plate and they have much more time to read novels. Makes sense. And then I don't really give a third reason in this one. In a lot of my part threes, I do give a third reason, but in this one, I had 2 groups. And so I kind of give an example here and go in to say that they might be part of a book club. And you could, really say anything with that. They might be part of a book club and they read books with their friends. And then, boom, you're done. Book club is not necessarily like an official vocabulary word, but it's definitely something where the examiner is going to be like, they know about book club. So it's definitely going to help you get little IELTS points. That's what I call them. IELTS points. Vocabulary, certain phrases, the way that you structure things. It's like little IELTS points. They love those things. So book club is a great thing that anytime you're talking about books or reading, that you can kind of slide in there too. And it'll just make it sound like you have a strong command of the English language. And if you don't know what a book club is, it is just a place where people sit around and talk about books. So usually in a book club, there's a book that the group has chosen to read either for that month or a couple of months or however long. And so they'll meet usually like once a week and they will discuss the book. So maybe for that week they're supposed to read a chapter, and so they will discuss that chapter. These can be done in person, which is usually how it is done, but they can also be done online. You have some famous book clubs where I'm not even sure if people are really talking about the books. They're kind of just all deciding they're going to read this book, and I'm not really sure how many conversations are happening. These are usually book clubs that are done by famous people. Two come to mind. They're great to join though, because you usually get really great book recommendations, and a lot of people are reading those books, and you do have ways where you can discuss those books with people. It's a good way to meet friends and to learn some things, because books always have things that we can learn. All right, so that's my easier structure. It's pretty straightforward. It's a little bit repetitive, which is fine on the exam, but I have another structure that's a little more conversational, but it's not as structured. So if you're getting a 5 right now, you probably want to go with this easier structure. If you are interested in just improving your English overall, not necessarily for the exam, or maybe you're at a 7, 7.5 and you're trying to get higher, you might be interested in this structure. It's not that different. My answer is the same, just the way that I'm going to deliver it is a little bit different. All right, so here's my answer. Novels are very popular in my country. Americans love to read. How often people read is sometimes a different story. People who are very busy don't always have very much time to read novels. Therefore, they don't spend much time reading novels and will often just read books that are work-related or read the newspaper. On the other hand, some people have less on their plate, or those who don't work at all have much more time to read. They may even be part of a book club where they read certain books and discuss them with their friends. So it's really the beginning here that is the most different. Be honest with yourself. If you are somebody who struggles with the beginning of your questions and you're kind of just really thinking of what to say, or you're silent, don't use this structure. Use the other one. So this structure is definitely going to be a little more organic and a little bit more how you would actually talk. So I start out by saying they're popular in my country and that my countrymen and women like to read, but then I say how much they read is a different story. So I'm still telling you I'm going to give you 2 different points of view, but I'm doing it in a way that's less structured, and you really kind of have to think of that on your own. So it's a nice way to kind of play with using language and challenge yourself. But it might not be what you want to do on the exam, kind of depending on what your comfort level with English is. All right, so let's go over some of the vocabulary that you heard. I talked about some of it a little bit, but let's go over the rest. So I say how often Americans read is a different story. So a different story means I'm telling you this one thing, but there's something a little contradictory, a little bit different that I'm going to say. So you're really just talking about like a different set of circumstances. So yes, we like to read, but there's a set of circumstances that doesn't allow that. So when I say it's a different story, it's like, yeah, we like this, but that doesn't mean we can do it. And so that's what a different story means. On the other hand, you heard me use, and that's just a contradictory transitional phrase that means I'm going to tell you something that's different. So I told you this one thing, and now I'm going to tell you something that's the opposite of that. Therefore is another transition word that I use, and therefore basically just means because. So this thing happened, which means that this thing happened. So thing 2 is the consequence of thing 1. So thing 1 happened, there was a consequence, therefore thing 2 happened. And it can, for the most part, be used in place of because. Because is an awesome word, and you can use because as much as you want, as long as it makes sense in your sentence. But if you want to mix it up a little bit, therefore, not 100% of the time, but like 95% of the time, can just replace because. So it's just another option, another place to get a little bit of word variety, and therefore will definitely get you some IELTS points. All right, that is it. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.